Hey guys, DPG here, hackhollywood.com, and today I just wanted to talk to you guys about what I believe makes Tom Cruise, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest movie star probably in history. Whether he's the biggest today, that's always up for debate. It depends on what's coming out, who's in it, etc., the flavor du jour. But if you look back over time, despite his rankings in the biggest box office grossing actors of all time, he is by far the biggest, with possibly Tom Hanks and Harrison Ford. They're pretty much up there as well. But I don't think anybody really gets the type of attention he gets when a movie of his comes out. Meaning, like, if it's Tom Cruise, you're going to see the movie. Probably a good part of that is because he's in it. Whereas, because he doesn't really change a lot. We want to see Tom Cruise be Tom Cruise. I think we all feel like we know Tom Cruise because he does more or less the same kind of things in every movie. He plays similar characters in every movie. He's always competent and takes challenges on head on, but he also screws up, and he knows when he screws up, and he gets himself into all kinds of predicaments. And the part we love is watching him get out of those predicaments. Whereas a lot of these other stars, they don't have the sense of humor, or they don't have the level of heroism that he has that goes along with the sense of humor. Like, Harrison Ford is a great hero character, but most of the time he's not a prepared hero. He's an unwilling hero. And Tom Cruise is the guy who wants to be the hero, who shows up when people call for a hero, and then gets his ass kicked over and over and over on the way to saving the day. And so what is it, from an actor's perspective, that you can learn from a guy like Tom Cruise, and that makes him probably the greatest, if not actor in human history, maybe the most successful box office actor, who commands the most presence? And again, I'm sure many of you are just yawning and saying, "You're an idiot, what are you talking about?" But he just holds this spot in my mind when I think, like, who is somebody who gets paid the most? Tom Cruise. Who gets the most attention when one of their movies comes out? Tom Cruise. Who does their own stunts hanging off the tallest buildings and from cliffs and riding the motorcycles? I mean, nobody is nearly as close to him on that level. And so what is it that he brings to the table that other actors can learn from? And for my money, what Tom Cruise brings to the table that other actors can learn from is basically the character that he plays. He is a guy who is open to challenges. He is willing to take chances, and he's okay with making mistakes because he understands that you have to make mistakes to learn how to do something. Nobody can gift you with a perfect skill so that you don't have to go through some kind of learning process, and almost every learning process includes falling down a lot. And he brings those elements, and he brings it all with a sense of not taking himself too seriously, even when he's doing Mission Impossible stuff, which really didn't even used to be tongue-in-cheek. It used to be dead serious, but somehow he just had a way of making light of situations. I believe it was the first Mission Impossible movie that he did, where he was hanging, suspended by a thread, and there's a rat. There's a rat, trying to attack the guy who's who's holding on to the wire that he's attached to, and he keeps slipping and slipping, and he's like, there's just, he's not like just plain scared like we would be, which is just like, oh my God, no. He's just got this, like, there's just something funny about what he does, because he knows at the end of the day, I guess I'd say this is sort of he's got a bit of a death, not a death wish, but he's okay with the consequences, whatever they are. And if death is the consequence, he's okay with that because he knew that getting into whatever he's doing. He knows that when he hangs from a cliff, you know, in the Grand Canyon, and he knows that when he's riding a motorcycle, and he knows that when he's in a movie hanging from a thread, he takes on the same persona. So that's why he can do a stunt that most of us would never even consider, because I think he's okay with what happens in the end. You know, I think he's okay that if he falls, like these guys who climb, you know, scale these 3,000-foot walls with no ropes at all, you know they're okay with falling off. They don't want to, but they can't think about that or they would never be able to do it. So this is you know, I believe that what he brings to the table is what makes him so successful. And also, that is what can help you be successful, is to take on challenges, to be willing to try things that you've never done before, because when you're starting out, you've never done anything. So if you aren't willing to, you know, learn, work, study, you know, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, so on and so forth, then you're going to have a real difficulty. But in the end, you also have to be okay with how things might turn out. What's the worst possible case scenario? And acknowledge it and accept it and say, I know that, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, and if you can have that attitude, then you won't be afraid to take on some of the things that other people tell you you're crazy to take on. Because the only reason they say you're crazy to do this or you're crazy to do that, you know, among actors, which is don't knock on doors, don't pick up the phone, don't do anything, right? Well, the only thing that stops us is a fear of what might happen. And if you can say, yeah, I know I might get yelled at, I might get run out of town, even though that's not possible. Nobody can run you out of town. But if you just accept that that could happen and you realize that you need to do it anyway, then you will do it. And you will also find out that that is exactly what people respect about you. That is the kind of quality they are looking for. They are looking for the qualities that Tom Cruise possesses. That you are willing to take on new things, rise to the highest possible level, accept that there's a learning curve and you're going to fall down over and over and over. And that's not only it's not only okay, it's absolutely necessary. And it's what makes the victory or, you know, success mean something. If it's just handed to you, success means nothing. Okay, things only mean something to you by how much work you put into them, how much money you spent on them, and you know where that money came from. You worked for it, or your parents slaved their whole lives for it. Okay, that's what makes something feel worthwhile, is when you work hard at something and then you succeed, then you're like, wow, I did that. And even if you fail along the way multiple times, you got to be okay with that. And ultimately, if you fall off the cliff, the rope breaks, whatever, that's okay. You know you gave it your best. Okay, guys, hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk to you soon.